London. I'm Matt Brown, and you're listening to the Matt Brown Podcast. It's the show about all things local and maybe some other stuff too. Every once in a while, we have a chance to take a look at an issue that's unfolding right now. And that's what we have for you today. Graham Henderson, CEO of the London Chamber of Commerce, is joining us to talk about a draft economic development strategy that City Council will be reviewing this coming week. And he's going to explain how it connects to another plan they're developing, specifically the London Downtown Plan. Graham thinks the draft strategy should be tweaked by Council so the two initiatives can work together in a more coordinated way. I'll tell you all about it right after this.
Winter's here. It's time to discover the Bicycle Cafe. Cozy up with our daily soup and sandwich, or unwind with an evening latte and Dutch comfort food. London Bicycle Cafe at the Forks of the Thames. See you soon.
And as I mentioned off the top, Graham Henderson is joining us today to talk about a draft economic development strategy that's been developed by Deloitte and is moving through the council review and approval process right now. The draft strategy includes 5 pillars: talent and innovation, investment, attraction and retention, regional collaboration, transportation and access, and finally, system optimization. Naturally, Graham and the London Chamber of Commerce, along with other community partners, have been supporting the development of this strategy throughout the process. He and his team have been at the table. They've been involved in the community engagement discussions, and during this time, they've picked up on a theme. To put it simply, fix the downtown came up again and again, no matter who he and his colleagues connected with. And at the same time that this strategy is being developed, City Council is also developing a new plan for London's downtown. Graham sees potential synergies between the two initiatives, and he submitted a letter and will be a delegate at a council committee meeting this coming week, where he will request that council make a small tweak to the draft strategy, specifically adding an additional round of targeted community consultation and also adding a pillar to the strategy that speaks directly about London's downtown, including a strong reference to London being a Unesco City of Music and identifying how a focus on culture and creative industries are significant potential economic drivers for London's economy. That's the background, and Graham's here to tell us all about it. So let's go. Welcome back to the podcast, Graham.
Oh, thanks so much. Really glad to be here, and it's kind of an important time. So good to have the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned a bit about this in the intro to the episode.
Mm-hmm.
There's a report going to the London City Council Strategic Policies and Priorities Committee on Tuesday of this week. Specifically, Deloitte is presenting their draft economic development strategy. Why does this matter to the London Chamber of Commerce?
So the city's economic development strategy is being developed in partnership with an outside agency. And in this case, it's Deloitte. And they were hired in the late spring 2025 to do this. And why is it important? It's important because this is going to set the agenda for the next many years. It's going to establish how our beautiful city is going to grow, thrive, and prosper. So it's of the utmost importance that folks in the city acknowledge this and take a close look at it. And from the point of view of the Chamber of Commerce, where we try to represent the whole community, because our members, the businesses, care about the whole community. So we think in that way. We think about social progress. We think about economic prosperity. So it matters very much to us how this is all going to translate into action.
Okay, and now there was a consultation process that was undertaken. Your organization played a role in that process. Yeah. What did you hear from your members? What did you hear from community partners? And where did Deloitte land with the feedback?
So Deloitte conducted focus groups, both online and in person. They did a lot of listening and researching. I mean, they're experts in this area. I mean, they do a lot of this for different communities. I think they interviewed all the members of council. They would have worked with city staff. And the goal was to come up with a strategy that matches the expectations of the community, the council, business, all of us. And so that was the goal. Now, I attended most of these meetings, or colleagues did, and in particular, the last one, where they provided a summation. It was an opportunity for them to get in front of us and say, this is what we've heard, and we're going to build on this. And they commenced their entire presentation with this acknowledgement that it had been an interesting journey, and throughout the course of the journey, they learned more and more that there was really one issue, and one issue only, around which there was consensus. And that was, to put it in the vernacular, quote unquote, fix the downtown, closed quote.
Is that right? So I did notice that there's a lot of focus within the draft recommendations on London's downtown. Let's go there right now. What do you think Deloitte got right? And did they miss a beat or two with their recommendations as well?
Well, it's fascinating. I mean, this is a difficult process. You're trying to respond to dozens of stakeholder interests, obviously, but at the same time, you have to unify around something. And when the community, and that's not just the business community, when everybody seems to be saying, look, we've just got to fix this downtown, you would expect, I think, a little more attention to the downtown in the plan itself. Now, this plan is like any sort of, it's a first draft, right? So you get a vision statement, a mission statement. Folks will be familiar with this. And then you get pillars, and we have 5 of them. And curiously, the downtown is not one of the 5 pillars. But having said that, the narrative of their document links downtown vitality to talent retention, perceptions of safety, curing our vacancy problem, investment decisions, the fact that property values will go up, we'll be able to attract more businesses to the community. I mean, they get it. But then when you look at the pillars, it seems to evaporate, and the downtown plan, or the downtown, it is reduced to a single bullet point under the investment attraction and retention heading. So we think that framing is far too light for what they heard from us and from what the community needs.
Okay, well, I can certainly understand that. I mean, I've always referred to our downtown as our calling card to the world, right? It's also an economic and cultural engine. Downtown represents, last time I checked, less than 1% of London's geography, but over 5% of total assessment. And so really a thriving downtown means a more vibrant city right across the city, neighborhood to neighborhood, greener parks in Byron and all of those things. So what I find really interesting about this, there's something that's happening concurrently to this. And that is, we've spoken about it before on the Rogers TV show, but that's the city's also developing a downtown plan at this time. And so I'm wondering if you can tell us what that plan is hoping to do. It appears to me that in many ways, both the downtown plan and this economic development strategy are walking the same path. So in your submission that goes to SPPC next week, you identify that there could be synergies if both plans kind of rolled out together. You also mentioned that there's a risk, and I found this really interesting, a good turn of phrase actually, that there's a risk that the 2 documents might not talk to each other. What did you mean by that?
So even Deloitte, I shouldn't say even, Deloitte acknowledged this. One of the first things that they said was, look, we're aware that there's another entity doing a downtown plan. And that, by the way, as you know, and as listeners may remember, is the Canadian Urban Institute. That process, you're right, started almost concurrently, I think in the early summer. They presented a background report to council in mid-November. There is now a period for input, which we are providing to the background report. They have, I think, a couple of town halls scheduled for the 20th in the morning, which folks can sign up for. But that is specifically focused on the role of the downtown in our community and what needs to be done to revitalize it. So Deloitte sort of says, we're doing this economic development strategy here, but as we've plunged further and further into it, people keep talking to us about the downtown plan. And if the downtown plan is the most important thing to people, then our strategy has to bring that to the center. And my take is that it doesn't. So you ask, what's the danger here? Well, first of all, the 5 pillars, which are for the most part not controversial. I mean, talent retention and investment attraction, that's fine. System optimization all makes sense, technical stuff. But right in the middle is something called regional collaboration, which seemed to appear a little bit out of the blue. But when you hear from your audience that the downtown is important, and then you create a pillar configuration which elevates regional collaboration and relegates downtown to a bullet, there's a messaging and implementation risk. The teams that are responsible for economic development strategy, they're going to take cues from the pillar architecture about what matters most, how resources need to get allocated, what success will be judged against. Meanwhile, folks who are implementing the downtown plan, they'll signal that downtown revitalization is the most important. But again, if it's a sub point, then the result's going to be, I think, predictable. Departments tasked with delivering the strategy will prioritize pillar commitments, even if the parallel process urges a downtown first focus.
I gotcha. And so there's an opportunity here for the two strategies to roll out together and to focus in on the areas where focus is due. And there's also an opportunity where it could be kind of clumsy. And one strategy could take the city in one direction and the other strategy, could go in another. I also noticed as I read through the document that there might also be something missing around, and we've talked about this before, London being a Unesco City of Music. And what I think I'm hearing from you is that you're looking for an additional pillar added in.
Yeah, I think you need to replace. We first of all we have to acknowledge this isn't the final strategy. The council is being presented with
a draft,
and it's an overview. So there's an opportunity, we hope, for rethinking. And what we're trying to do is provide some additional guidance from the community, which might steer the next steps. For us, it's replacing regional collaboration with downtown revitalization. Now, I'm not saying for one second that regional collaboration isn't important. It is.
Right.
And London is a hub. I've often pointed to the success of Austin, sitting in between two huge cities, Dallas and Houston, and how they took that intermediate role and turned themselves into the live music capital of the world and a city of 2.5 million people from almost nothing. And they did that by making themselves a hub. We should too.
Right. We've got Detroit on one side and we've got Toronto on the other. Both are about 2 hours away from London downtown.
A lot of parallels, but first things first. We've just finished a parallel process in which virtually everybody is saying, fix the downtown. So it's very important that we recognize regional collaboration. We can do that by making it a cross-cutting initiative that fits into every single pillar, including downtown revitalization. So it receives attention, but let's give pride of place to the issue that has risen to the top for most of our community. And yes, you brought up UNESCO and City of Music, huge piece of this, Matt, because also Deloitte acknowledged, and this was one of the first things they said, was in acknowledging that everybody wants the downtown fixed. That's the moonshot. They said, and most people seem to be conglomerating around culture as the answer, because we've done policing, we've done housing, we've done all these different things. So let's lean in on that. Let's allow culture to do the heavy lift in revitalizing or being part of revitalizing our downtown so that it's welcoming, walkable, there's quality of life, there's social cohesion, and all those wonderful things.
It's very interesting because I can think back as far back as 2014 I was thinking about making a run for the mayor's seat, and I was consulting with all kinds of different people from all kinds of different walks of life. And I can remember the then CEO of Libro Financial, Jack Schmidt. I went and I met with him, and folks might know that his office is downtown on York Street with a beautiful view of the downtown. I sat down and I thought we were going to talk about economics and finances and dollars and cents. And I said, "What do you want to talk about, Jack? What do I need to know?" And he said, "I want to talk about downtown. I want to talk about arts and culture." And that's a banker.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The ground has shifted right under our feet. I think, I feel that some of this has to do with the sudden awareness of how different our culture is from the United States, how important our culture is to us. But I sense right across the board, people thinking, yeah, we need to lean into this. And it's going to be a key component. So Deloitte recognized this. It's in the narrative, but it's not in the structure. So.
Okay. And you know what? That brings me, I think, to my next question, which is right now, city staff is recommending that council receive the report. Yeah. And I'm hoping you can explain what that means, and specifically what you're asking council to do instead.
Right. So I guess you may know more about this than me, but if you're just receiving a report, it's almost like giving it its imprimatur. Yeah, I've received the report. Thanks very much. I'm done. So what we're asking, Matt, is for them to take action. We have circulated I think it's a 9-page commentary on this, in which we are recommending that the council, yes, receive the report, but subject to further consultation and refinement with clear direction on downtown pillar status, on the synergy between economic strategy and the downtown plan. Those two have to be made to talk together. Like, think of it this way, and nobody's really said this yet. The economic strategy, think of it as the foundation, the scaffolding, and then your downtown plan is going to be full of activations, ideas, dreams, and hopes. The first one, the foundation and scaffolding, have to be set up in order to make the dream. That's how it works. So they have to push these two together, and that's what we're asking them to do.
Okay. And so assuming that the SPPC receives your recommendation and your request in a positive way, what would happen next?
Well, my hope would be that over the next period of time, and listen, remember that there's more work to be done on the strategic plan anyway. So let's have some targeted consultation with the business community, with stakeholders, to make sure that these two are talking together. So that I would see between now and at some point, I'm not sure when they intend on passing the strategy, probably in March. Between now and then, we get all of this backfilled.
Right. I gotcha. And I think that we're in a really interesting time in municipal politics right now. As many people know, we're headed into a municipal election in 2026. So it's reasonable to assume that both the downtown plan goes through the approval process and this economic strategy goes through the approval process. Nothing essentially is going to happen in terms of implementation, perhaps between now and the end of this term. But I think this is a dynamite platform for those running in the next election to get behind. And it is, again, it's another one of those bona fide citywide issues that can really bring people together.
Yeah, and this is what I'm hearing from council members. Again, there's a ground shift. Even at the door, people are recognizing this. And just as a sort of a last thought, this is a very prosperous city, Matt. I think we're fourth most prosperous, it's way up there and very fast growing. I think we have to ask ourselves, how is that prosperity manifesting itself in our environment? Now, if I dropped you in Vienna or Austin or 100 other cities.
I wish you would.
Yeah, I know, me too. But I think you would see prosperity manifested in public works, the public realm, options, opportunities, inclusive environments. But, we've got aging infrastructure, cultural infrastructure, Centennial Hall. We all know the story there. The museum is unbelievable, but needs help. Victoria Park, the banjo needs help. We've got a list of this, of sort of potential flagship projects that we want the city and Deloitte, when they're thinking about their strategy, it's, this downtown plan may create all of these dreams that we share together. We're going to do this, 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 and this. Just like Matt, remember, we did this 1998. We built a hockey arena, we built Covent Garden, we built the library, et cetera, all in a few years. So it's clearly doable, but we need our politicians to be ambitious, bold, and as ambitious and bold as I think the citizenry wants them to be.
And I've got one more question for you.
All right.
On that specific topic. And so you and I and lots of people that kind of live and breathe this sort of thing each and every day.
Yeah.
There's almost 500,000 Londoners out there who don't pay as close attention. And I wonder if you could tell our listeners really what the value proposition is in it for them.
Yeah. Well, for those who are conscious of what's going on in the downtown, I think fixing the downtown will be one of the most important things that will take place. And what will flow from that is increased prosperity for everyone, because it will attract more businesses. It will retain more talent. Hell, I've talked to big businesses in London who have trouble attracting senior level employees because ... So for all of the reasons that cities around the globe revitalize their downtown, this is the moment in time for London. We've got a new economic strategy. We've got a new downtown plan. Let's make sure we do it right so that we're not doing this again in 5 or 10 years and having the same conversation.
I hear you. And specifically to talent attraction, talent retention, it's the intangibles that help a person decide, you know what? Yeah, I'm moving my entire research team to Western because I love the university and I love the kind of lifestyle that I'm going to lead when I live in city X, in this case in London. Or it's that young recent graduate in digital technologies. We've got a thriving gaming industry here, Big Blue Bubble, Digital Extremes, and things to be really proud of, organizations to be really proud of. But that young person has the opportunity to say, okay, I could stay in London, or I could work in Montreal, I could work in Vancouver, I could work in Seattle, and the list goes on and on and on.
And if we don't retain them, we lose something. We can be like Austin. We can be like these amazing mid-sized cities that grew. We can be this phenomenal regional hub. We can do all of these things if we just unleash some of these visions and dreams, and these two, and we need our council to support us in this.
Well, I'm going to give the last word to you, and time isn't our friend right now. But last point, and consider your audience. You've got council members that listen to this podcast. You've got community members, and you've got community leaders.
Well, maybe you've made my point. What would have been my last point, which is, if this is important to you as a citizen, vote. Right? Like, let's. And if you're a counselor who believes in this, who feels that now is the time for something different, now is the time for a change, let's put our prosperity on full display here in London. If you're that, then let's go.
All right. That is a great spot to leave it. It's always fun to have you on the program. I'm sure you'll be back again. But until then, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Matt.
And we'll be right back to close out the show right after this.
Winter is here. Time to discover Bicycle Cafe. Cozy up with our daily soup and sandwich, or unwind with an evening latte and Dutch comfort food. London Bicycle Cafe at the Forks of the Thames. See you soon.
Okay, London, that's the show. I hope you liked it, and I hope you know a little bit more about Council's economic development strategy and the city's downtown plan than you did a half an hour ago. They're being developed almost simultaneously, and I think that Graham explained very clearly how the draft EcDev strategy could be tweaked so that it would align hand in glove with the downtown plan. Of course, thanks to Graham for joining us. As I speak with him about many matters, I often feel that under his leadership, this is not your father's London Chamber of Commerce. You'll only get that reference if you're of a certain vintage and remember a Cadillac commercial that aired decades ago. What I mean is that under Graham's leadership and that of the Chamber's board and talented staff, I have seen the organization grow into the progressive institution that it is today. Specifically, and among many other things, recognizing that London's not-for-profit community is a strong contributor to our local economy, and how investing in London's downtown with a focus on music, arts, culture, and creative communities are not just good for our souls, they're also good for London's collective pocketbook, too. So, you folks over at the Chamber, keep up the great work. As this podcast develops, it continues to be a fun project for me. I hope you're enjoying the ride, too. I'm definitely still learning the technical side of things, and I'm enjoying the learning curve. Now, I've mentioned this in the past, and it continues to this day. Almost every episode of this podcast came together because someone from our community reached out to me to suggest a topic or to pitch an episode that would highlight a local issue or the work that they do here in London. Keep those suggestions and pitches coming. You can reach me at the mattbrownpodcast@gmail.com. And if you like what you're hearing, please give the show a follow wherever you get your podcasts and share it on your socials and with your family, with your colleagues and friends. I'm thrilled with the quality of guests we've been able to attract and with the momentum that continues to build in relation to our regular listeners. Thanks for that too. So, that's the show. I'm Matt Brown, and you've been listening to the Matt Brown Podcast. Bye for now, keep in touch, and talk to you again soon.